Welcome to Oxford News This Week. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Terry Stiles. In this week's news, Addison builds a fire pit for the sledding hill. Oxford chickens carry global DNA, serving as living art, and former Army captain reflects on leadership.
Stay tuned. Learn more about these stories and others. The Oxford News begins right now. With so much attention on the national and state races, it's easy to forget our local 2018 election, which includes a number of important contests and proposals. In the five-way race for 4 seats on the Oxford Board of Education, the winners were incumbent Cory Bailey and in newcomers Eric Foster, Chad Griffith, and Mary Hanser. Based on the unofficial results, Griffith received around 6,000 votes. Hanser garnered almost 6,000. Foster earned over 5,500, and Bailey received just over 5,000 votes. Candidate Kelly Rostrom came in last with about 3,600 votes. Oxford voters failed a 15-year $1 million request to fund the Township Parks and Recreation Department's operations.
During the election season, public officials are subject to a higher level of scrutiny as voters try to decide who they want to represent them. Kudos to the Oxford School District Superintendent Tim Throne. Before voters went to the polls on November 6th, Throne and the school board members attempted to reassure the public by addressing some rumors and addressing the importance that the district places on transparency.
A 74-year-old Oxford man and his 2 dogs died after crashing his Grand Cherokee into a large pond on Lakeville Road last week. Oxford resident Ed Klein was a Vietnam War veteran and a member of North Oakland Veterans of Foreign Wars Post 334. He was transported to Creighton Hospital, where he passed away the following morning. The Oakland County Medical Examiner ruled his death as accidental.
Addison Township is committed to warmth and fun this winter season by placing a public fire pit at the hill next to the Township Hall. The fire pit will be, with seating, is being built as a warming station for those who have a fun day on the sledding hill. Supervisor Bruce Pearson hopes the hill will be a community hub in the cold winter months where people can gather and enjoy each other's company.
Did you know Walkabout Farm of Metamora has chickens containing the genetic material from 20 countries? These unique birds are doing everything from expanding the boundaries of art and science to supplying education and fresh, healthy food to hungry folks in need. Interesting, huh?
True leaders aren't the ones who have fancy titles, hold high ranks, or receive fat paychecks. They are those who work in the trenches, get their hands dirty, and set a good example for those around them. That was the message of former U.S. Army Captain Justin Quisenberry's speech about leadership during the 16th annual Americana concert. Oxford Middle School held the concert last Friday evening at the Oxford High School.
Terry, would you like to talk about what went on in the election?
Only one thing.
What
I'm
would that be?
really grateful that the election is over with and we don't have to see the mudslinging and on a national level. That didn't really go on here, but I am disappointed about that millage renewal or increase.
For the parks?
Yeah.
Parks
I
and
feel
Recreation.
so bad for Ron.
Now, I understand that as the ballots came in, it was pretty much the not the people at the polls that turned it down.
Right. It seemed to be the absentee ballots.
Absentee ballots.
And they're from the seniors for the most part. This is my assumption. So somebody call and correct me if I'm wrong. And actually that renewal was for the senior center.
I think, you know, talking about the absentee ballots, I think a lot of people when they first get the absentee ballot, they want to fill it out right away and send it in. I think it's a smart thing, probably hold off for a while.
And listen to what's going on.
Yeah, because I know some have said, I wish I wouldn't have voted that way now that I know what I know.
Right, right.
So, you know, that could be a lesson, and maybe why it was turned down, I don't know either. But it's unfortunate because all the residents in our community are going to be affected by the parks.
Absolutely, and that particular increase was for that senior community center that's being built right now, and I know the Oxford Leader had a great article on that. CJ wrote a great thing on that. So what are we going to do now? The building is built. Are they going to be able to maintain that center without to the standard that Ron really and the township has promised the people in this community for a long time coming, and now all of a sudden it's voted down? I just can't understand that at all. So we'll see what happens with that senior center. Are they going to be able to even run it?
I do know that Ron Davis and his people too have done a great job on a very small budget. You might say that they're working on a beer budget and delivering champagne.
Champagne, absolutely.
Because you know, they've done an amazing thing for all the parks, and I think you folks that go to the parks and attend the various activities that Ron has set up, you know, talk about soccer, baseball, and all the things that go on, tennis.
I'm so disappointed. So yes, there was bond money that went into our parks this year. It went into all the parks, the Powell Lake Park and Oakwood Park and Stony Lake Park. It wasn't for the senior center. The senior center is a whole different ball game, and that's where people go to take classes. I tried to go out there the other day, and that parking area was full. Now granted, there's also equipment out there to build that building and our building as well, but there was also a class going on in that small little room that they've got there. That was full. So they need that space. Ron doesn't do anything in this community if they don't need it. He's doing it totally for the community. So I'm so disappointed for the Parks and Rec staff. And gosh, I think people pulled the trigger too fast on that one.
Yeah, I think Ron is very resilient. I mean, he's the kind of guy to say, okay, here we are, this is what's happened, I'll get on with what I have and work with what I have. Yep, he will, and his people. And they'll work just as hard as they have in the past. I mean, for you folks out there. And it's unfortunate, I personally feel, but it is what it is.
Me too, and that's only our opinion. That's not the opinion of the station, but it's something that I think needed to be talked about. I think I really think the community failed Parks and Rec.
Well, he's worked on a very low budget for years, and he's not asked for anything, you know, for operational expense.
Right.
So it's as I say, you know, not a fortunate thing, you know, for the community that this has happened. Ron won't be able to move forward on some other ideas that he had that would enhance, you know, the abilities for the people to enjoy.
Ron will make it work. He has done it before, and. Gosh, so there's our opinion, and maybe, you know, think twice next time that comes up. I guess in 4 years it could come up again. We'll see.
2 years, maybe.
But that's it. 2 years. That's it for Oxford News this week. If you'd like to learn more about these stories and others, you can catch us on our website, occtv.org, on YouTube, and of course our regular cable channel Spectrum 191 or AT&T Channel 99.
Coming up soon, OCTV's very own Cody Wright with School Sports and Schooling Around with Alexis Ware with our new intern, Danielle Smith. And you don't want to miss Auto Talk and Science in the News with Dave Kenny.
I'm Terry Stiles. Thanks for watching Oxford News this week, where we bring your news closer to home.
And I'm Elgin Nichols. Remember, always be kind to your friends and neighbors, and thanks for watching.
You love your community? So do we. Tune in our community access Monday through Friday, 9:30 and 1, and again at 7, Saturday at 9:30 and again at 7:30, and Sunday at 7. From new businesses to special events and everything in between, join the station that cares about our community.
Welcome to Science in the News. I'm Dave Kenny, and these stories are taken from the publication New Scientist. In our first story, babies whose father are age 45 or older are more likely to be premature. That is according to an analysis of 40 million live births in the U.S. between 2007 and 2016 by Michael Eisenberg at Stanford University in California and his colleagues. Babies with fathers age 45 or older were 14% more likely to be premature and had a similar raised risk of being admitted to a neonatal intensive care unit than those born to fathers aged between 25 and 34. They also found that on average, babies with older dads had a greater risk of low birth weight. The figures are for relative risk, not absolute risk, so even for older dads, the number of babies needing intensive care is still small. The team says the study offers a rare insight into the impact of a father's age in a domain where most focus has been on women. In our next story, a simple blood test can detect 8 different types of cancer. It does this by detecting the various sizes of tumor DNA fragments that flow through the body. At the moment, most cancer screening tools are limited to specific areas of the body. For example, mammograms for spotting breast cancer and fecal tests for detecting bowel cancer. Whole body MRI and CT scans can identify tumors throughout the body, but only once they have grown large enough to see. As a result, many research groups are working on developing blood tests that can detect multiple different cancer types while they are still in early treatable stages. A popular approach is to genetically sequence blood to see if it contains any telltale tumor DNA markers. But this is like looking for needles in a haystack because of the large volume of non-cancerous DNA that also circulates in the blood. Now, Florent Moliere at Cambridge University and his colleagues have devised a different approach that doesn't require time-consuming genetic sequencing and is potentially more accurate. They discovered that DNA fragments leaked by tumors often have different sizes to non-cancerous DNA fragments in the blood. For example, DNA fragments shed by breast, bowel, and ovary cancers tend to be shorter. By looking for characteristic tumor DNA fragment sizes in blood samples, the researchers were able to detect 94% of breast, bowel, ovary, skin, and bile duct cancers in 68 cancer patients with a false positive rate of 2.5%, the rate at which it identifies a cancer that really wasn't there. They were also able to identify 65% of pancreas, kidney, and brain cancers in another 57 patients. In comparison, an existing blood test called CancerSeq that looks for genetic and protein tumor markers in the blood was found to detect 70% of common cancers on average. However, CancerSeq was tested on earlier stage cancers, which probably made detection harder, says Moliere. In theory, the new test could be used to detect all types of tumors, says Moliere. It's simple enough for any commercial lab to do, meaning it could become available to the public in the near future, he says. And on the military front, a wearable device could protect soldiers from attacks from fast-acting chemical agents by automatically injecting the antidote as soon as it's needed. The U.S. Army project comprises 2 elements. The first is a wearable monitor that checks the user for opioid intoxication, and second, a device that automatically injects the antidote. The aim is that it will be able to distinguish between opioids and other agents such as nerve gases, which require different antidotes. Previously, soldiers have been issued with auto-injectors, spring-loaded syringes, to treat themselves or others, but modern opioid incapacitants such as fentanyl can also act quickly for those to be it can act too quickly for those to be viable. The injector will be a pen-sized device worn next to the skin with a requirement to fit comfortably underneath military protective gear. It may be triggered by automatically, manually, or even remotely. Malcolm Dando at the University of Bradford says that the devices will need to monitor a range of physiological responses to positively identify the agent involved and administer the antidote rapidly before the serious damage is done. While each of these steps may be possible, getting the whole system to work reliably is not going to be as simple in practice, he says. The subsystems will be designed and tested over the next year to be followed by an evaluation and refinement stage. If successful, the technology may be developed to automatically treat other types of chemical agent. Well, that's it for this edition of Science in the News. I'm Dave Kenny. Stay tuned to Oxford Community Television.
Hello and welcome back to School News. I'm Alexis Ware. It's been a while since I've done School News alone because of our student hosts. Again, I would like to give a huge thank you to our very first student host, Rylan Olaja, a 5th grader at Lakeville Elementary, as well as our other student host, Jordan, a 9th grade Crossroads for Youth Day student. Thank you both for all of your hard work. If you know of a student who can make a great student host, feel free to contact us on our Facebook page at Oxford Community Television. Anyone can submit recommendations for a student that displays excellent qualities at home, in school, or around the community. We pick a new student host every week from any of the schools in district, from early learning ages to 12th grade students. And traveling into the news, last week, 8th graders of Oxford Middle School traveled quite a bit themselves for their Washington, D.C. trip. Stay tuned to the Schooling Around segment to see some highlights from that in Lakeville's movie night last Friday. Today starts Oxford Middle School Scholastic Book Fair through Friday, and OMS are also having a Spirit Week all week long for the Camp Food Drive, from Friday being a special Blue Day for diabetes, which OHS will also participate in. Tomorrow, OMS is holding their perfect attendance celebration at 2 p.m. for those super students who have never been late. And the newspaper and yearbook classes have their fall MSU and MIPA conference. Thursday, Clear Lake Elementary is having their green team meeting, and on Friday, Oxford Middle School is out for the day. Oxford Elementary and Daniel Axford also have half days that day, so be sure to check those school sites for that time. It's certainly a lot going on in schools this week right before they take their Thanksgiving break, so prepare for a busy week, especially with the weather changing. Next week, there's more half days and closings, so be sure to stay tuned to get those dates on next week's school news. And that about does it for this episode. Everyone bundle up and sit tight. Next is Cody Wright with School Sports.
Hi, I'm Elgin Nichols with Oxford Community Television.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
And we represent Minutes by Minute, in which case you want to catch local information that's going on with your government officials.
That's right. Whether you live in the village of Oxford, Oxford Township, village of Leonard, Addison Township, we'll cover it all.
All of the above, and we'll look to see you there.
What's going on, Wildcat fans? Cody Wright back here once again for another sports report. Last week we were quite hopeful on the playoff position for our boys varsity football team. However, last week we fell and concluded our season to Lapeer with a 35-10 loss. The week before we started our playoff run strong with a 38-13 win against Davison, but Lapeer is a strong outfit, especially since both West and East high schools combined a few years back. Anyhow, it was a great season for these boys, and although we will be losing some seniors this year, we still look to have a similar outfit next season. Guys like quarterback Drew Carpenter and running back Caleb Tavert are only juniors and proved to be key elements in our success this season. We are, however, losing some solid guys such as Samuel McMakin, Grant Kornberger, Joseph Vaquero, Austin Schlick, Trent Meir, and Evan Brunning, just to name a few. These guys have been crucial in our success this season as well. Anyhow, it was a good run this year and a good fall overall. On the flip side, though, the girls' swim team had 4 swimmers qualify for states at the league meet this week. Ashley Weltick, Grace Shandstrom, Callie Schnur, and Jenna Fissler will all be competing in the 200 medley relay and the 400 freestyle. Individually, Schnur will be taking on the 100 butterfly, Fissler in the 50 and 100 freestyle, and Weltick in the 200 freestyle and individual and the 100 backstroke. This season was the first year the team competed in the OAA White, and I gotta say, so far, so good. It's just about that time to switch over to our winter sports schedule. Next week, we will have hockey to report on, and we'll be heading over to the Detroit Skate Club to cover some of the preseason action. For more info on this and more to fill yourself in on the other upcoming events such as basketball, wrestling, bowling, and more, you can go to oxfordathletics.org. There's plenty of game breakdowns, schedules, and more all right there at oxfordathletics.org. While you're at it, might as well check us out at occtv.org. All of our coverage of these events can be found on our YouTube page, which you can access right there through the website. Once again, that is occtv.org. Anyhow, I know this week's report wasn't much, but we are in one of those spots between seasons, and winter is right around the corner. Anyhow, I want to thank you all for watching and remind you to all to tune in next time. But until then, I'm Cody Wright. Go Wildcats.
Hi, I'm Debbie Wren from Daybreak.
And I'm Terry Stiles from Daybreak.
Yes, you can see us every day, Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. We are here to talk about what's going on in our community, what our businesses are doing, what our businesses have to offer. We have lots of information to provide you.
So don't miss us Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. See you there.
Welcome to this edition of Auto Talk. I'm Dave Kenny, and these stories are taken from the publication Automotive News. In our first story, General Motors plans to launch a new brand and lineup of electrified bicycles beginning in 2019. The initiative, according to officials, is part of the automaker's mission to provide additional zero-emission modes of transportation for consumers, particularly city dwellers. Jennifer Cathcart, e-bike marketing manager, said the first two products of a planned lineup will be compact and foldable electrified bicycles. What we've seen recently is that there's a real appetite for multimodal transportation, she said. And with these bikes, we're introducing an innovative first and last mile commuting solution. The first and last mile references the beginning or end of a trip using shared or public transportation for a commuter. Cathcart said that more details about the products will be available early next year. GM announced the first two bikes without a brand name. The company, on November 2nd, launched a contest to name its new lineup of bikes at ebikebrandchallenge.com. Entries, including a 100 to 150 word rationale for the name, must be submitted by November 26th. A panel of marketing experts from GM and its partner agency Isobar will choose the contest winner, who will receive a $10,000 prize. 9 other participants responsible for runner-up submissions will each receive $1,000, according to the company. The winners will be announced in early 2019. Get those cards and letters out there, folks. In our next story, McLaren Automotive's next step in its push for electrification is its most extreme vehicle yet. The Speedtail, a 1,035 horsepower gasoline-electric hybrid, pays homage in many ways to the iconic F1 of the 1990s. First is the seating configuration. Inside the teardrop-shaped cockpit are 3 carbon fiber seats, one in the center for the driver, flanked by 2 set slightly back for passengers. The F1 was similarly arranged. Just 106 are planned for production. The number is significant. That's how many F1s were sold. All Speedtails have already been reserved, and the prices start around $2.1 million, and deliveries from McLaren's production center in Woking, England, should start beginning around 2020. Due to the seating layout, as well as the high-definition digital cameras in lieu of door mirrors, features that don't comply with U.S. safety regulations, a McLaren spokesman said each Speedtail will have to be imported individually under a show or display rule that limits driving on public roads to no more than 2,500 miles annually. Yikes. About 1/3 of the Speedtails are headed for North America, the spokesman said. McLaren's first foray into hybrids was the P1, which launched in 2013. The plug-in hybrid only had a combined horsepower of 903. McLaren says the Speedtail can reach 186 miles per hour in a blistering 12.8 seconds and can top out at 250 miles an hour, making it the fastest McLaren ever. A carbon fiber body, aluminum suspension, carbon ceramic brakes, even lightweight leather all help to minimize the vehicle's heft. McLaren says the Speedtail weighs in at only 3,153 pounds dry. Speedtail buyers can specify seating features right down to the stitch pattern and hand mix paint used to trim edges of the leather. Another design element unique to the Speedtail is the location of the engine start button, as well as controls to open the windows and doors. All are in panels above the driver's head, and that's different. On the recall front, Subaru and Toyota are recalling 411,000 vehicles globally for a valve spring problem that could stall the engine. The glitch is caused by an overstressed valve spring that could fracture, which could lead to engine noise, malfunction, or in the worst case, stalling, says Dominic Infantante, Director of Communications for Subaru of America. The recall covers Subaru Impreza, Crosstalk, that is to say Crosstrek, and BRZ vehicles built between January 2012 and October 2013, but does not affect vehicles with engines made after May of 2013, they said. He said the defect was detected in Japan after reports of engine noise, and that it affects 140,249 vehicles, Subarus that is, in the U.S. Additionally, 80,000 Toyota and Scion vehicles built in 2012 and 2013 are covered by the recall, including 25,000 Scion FRS models sold in the U.S., a spokesman for Toyota North America said. She said Toyota dealers will replace the valve springs at no cost to customers. Separately, Toyota on November 1st announced a voluntary airbag recall covering certain 2004 to 2005 Scion XA vehicles in the United States. About 17,000 vehicles are susceptible to electrical short circuit that could damage circuits in the airbag system, Toyota said in a statement. The automaker said the short circuit could cause the airbag warning lights to turn on and the airbag and seat pretensioners to deactivate. In addition, it could cause the systems to inadvertently deploy, increasing the risk of an injury or crash. Owners will receive a notification by mail starting in late December. Toyota dealers will be replacing the airbag control unit. Well, that's it for this edition of Auto Talk. I'm Dave Kenny, and as always, may the wind be at your back as you cruise down life's highways.